Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to please click subscribe if you enjoy these videos. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers and it means the world to me. Much appreciated. And today we're going to be talking about Tribute to the World Tree. And Tribute to the World Tree is a green enchantment with whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card if its power is 3 or greater, otherwise put 2+1/+1 counters on it. So surprise, surprise, we get another incredibly strong green card. This set is chock full of really good green cards, so I'm not entirely surprised here, but still, this just seems very, very strong. We have a multitude of effects in green that draws cards when we play creatures. It's quite common to see now. Green is getting a ton of card draw these days, but I think that this one is actually probably the single best one if you can afford the 3 green pips, and that is because it actually has a pretty good failsafe. Usually these cards are either turned on, they either give you the card if you meet the condition, or they do not give you the card and then they don't really do anything. So there is a cost to playing them. With this, there's really no cost at all. Obviously, getting the card is the better of the two modes, but if you don't get the card, you still get to put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature you just played, which is quite relevant. Getting a permanent +2/+2 buff on any creature that enters the battlefield under your control is a pretty big buff. So you're going to be happy to play this in any deck that is looking to buff their creatures or get counters, or any deck that is looking to draw cards. This is going to work well in each of those. I see it as very good in the token decks, ironically, because even though you're less likely to draw cards with it, you're getting a permanent +2/+2 buff on every single token that comes into play under your control, which is huge. This means that this is incredibly good with Proliferate as well. It's just going to make all of those Proliferate effects even better because all of your creatures are going to come in with counters on them. It can also work really well in any dedicated +1/+1 counter deck because a lot of creatures in those decks rely on having counters on them to do stuff or to gain abilities. For example, something like Fathom Mage absolutely loves this. If you play this on turn 3 and Fathom Mage on turn 4, you're immediately drawing 2 cards and getting a 3/3. So you're having your cake and eating it. It's also incredibly good with Giant Sage or any other similar creature that adds mana equal to its power. There's one of those even in this set which also adds an additional counter if you put counters on something, which by the way, we're getting 2 more of those effects in this set. We have like 10 of them at this point. It's getting a bit silly. So those are 2 places that this is going to shine, token decks and counters decks. But then we also have it in regular, just big green stompy decks, which are going to have creatures with power 3 or more. At that point, you're just drawing a card every time you play a creature, which is basically Beast Whisperer. That's also fantastic. And I think the fact that you have both of these modes is what makes this so good. There's never going to be a creature that comes into play that is not going to be good. It's either going to get buffed and be a pretty reasonable creature, or it's going to draw you a card and replace itself, both of which are fantastic. And it's incredibly strong that when this is out, you're basically never going to have a creature smaller than 3/3 because every 1/1 is immediately going to become a 3/3, and all creatures with power 3 or greater are just drawing you a card. I just feel like this covers too much bases. There's basically no downside to this other than the triple green cost, which I'm glad it has, because it's going to restrict a little bit which decks it could go in, and otherwise I think this would be an auto-include in most green decks. So for sure we're going to be seeing this a lot in any deck that can afford that mana cost. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care.